Howdy. Tyler here, and Sam was a review. This time, we're going to talk about August Burns Red's Rescue and Restore. This is their new album. This came out on Solid State Records June 25th. So, I know we surprisingly got a lot of comments asking us when we're going to review this album. People care! Surprising. But anyways, here it is for y'all that are interested in our opinions on this. Chaw. You can go.
It's nothing that you wouldn't really expect if you've been following the band. Like, to start off around this area of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where August Burns Red is from, or where I'm not sure if they're all from Lancaster, but the band sort of had their origins around this area. After August Burns Red got pretty popular and is out in the world touring and everything and headlining shows above what do you think might be pretty popular bands, they made it big. It's safe to say they made it big. And the rest of the bands around here that are still local seem to try to imitate a lot of what they do. So try to have an understanding that around here I hear a lot of what August Burns Red breakdowns are pretty cool, you could say. Around, other popular metalcore bands like As They Lay Dying, the Devil Wears Prada, or any metal bands like that. They seem to have their breakdowns, and the other popular bands they all do the same thing, but around here it's all August Burns Red breakdowns. So it's safe to say that I've had my fill of that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that August Burns Red is bad for doing it. It's just, please understand that I've had my fill of it. I've had more than my fill of it.
Yeah.
So it's hard to review this band's album here and say, anything. When it gets to a breakdown, I'm just like, oh, I hear that around here all the time. Not that exact thing, but beating around the same bush. But the album itself is what August Burns Red does masterfully. Terrific drumming from Matt, rhythm and leads from Brent and JB. They do them wonderfully. Jake's yells, his screams, his highs, his lows, his talking. Even his just normal talking, you don't hear that, like, oh, that guy's singing is good. Jake is the best at talking. He talks really nicely, has a nice voice, but really, he does well. Even Dustin on the bass stands out numerous parts in the album. I liked it. What I'm going for is that it's a good album. It's very good, and I feel that, at least with me, I sort of know this band. I feel a bit of a connection with them, and I could say that it's their normal progression of what they've been going on since all the way back, before Constellations. Because Constellations was where it really hit me, and I'm like, oh. That's where the first album I really got into, and I went back a little in, then Leveler, and now this album. And you can really tell the progression of getting to be better musicians, experimenting a little more, just the usual thing, maturing in life, progressing through life and such. Yeah, that's easy to tell. But about the album itself, the breakdowns are cool and all, but the reason I said all that is because, I can't really like breakdowns all that much. Even some of the rhythm patterns that they use, rhythm guitar, I'm just like, ugh. I kind of just sit there. Because I hear a lot of that around here. And it's I'm not taking any shots at August Burns Red, because they're definitely a cut above the rest. But the album itself, let me get to that. I keep, going off. The leads are August Burns Red. They're great. Just fantastic. some things that seem almost impossible to play, or some things that are really simple, really slow. All around good. Brent does a heck of a job. JB does a heck of a job. They're just great guitar players. If you know this band, if you don't, you should definitely check this band out. But I have a gut feeling that most people know this band. Jake's vocals are definitely progressing through each album. He still maintains his mid-range thing. His high scream is still good. His lows are still pretty gnarly, you could say. He has this shout type of thing that he uses when, you know, it adds effect. He even talks through a song or two. He has a pretty wide range of doing things. And Matt, again, on the drums. One thing about his drumming, though, after listening to them for years, he seems to stick with, he is a good drummer, don't get me wrong, but he seems to stick with some similar beats every now and then. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, he's still a great drummer, and he's still influential to people, but sometimes I just notice that the beats sound similar. But, I mean, that's nothing. Bass is good. Dustin, that's what I'm forgetting. I keep talking, I'm forgetting. Dustin's screams are, I feel that there should be a whole song dedicated to him because he's really good. Really good. He should even put out a song of his own or something. Just one song of him being the lead, being on the lead vocals. Overall, the album's good. It's great. My expectations were pretty up there, and you know they landed. The album landed fairly around my expectations, so it's a really good album. The lyrics, I'm sure, are great. I haven't talked on them much because I haven't read through the lyrics, but lyrics are probably very influential, very positive, very nice, religious and stuff. That's all I can say. That's my honest, blatant review of what the album is.
Yeah. I agree with pretty much everything that Sam said. This is a phenomenal album. I just want to get that out of the way. This album is just, it's very catchy from start to finish, but it has its very catchy moments, but one thing that I feel is that, you know, when you listen to Constellations or Leveler, you know, or even, I forget the one. Fuck, their second album.
Backburner?
No, Backburner's on there. I forget. But anyway, their second album.
I know what it is.
The one with Composure and stuff, and Truth of a Liar. You know, songs stick out on that on those albums very quickly. You know, Empire sticks out to, you know, Internal Canon, Whitewashed, Mariana's Trench, you know, Composure, Backburner, Truth of a Liar, blah blah blah. That's pretty much their hits. But songs like that, they stick out really quickly on those albums. That you know, those are the songs that I'm going to listen to the most. Messengers, that's it. And I feel with this album, while it is absolutely fantastic, there's not really that song that really sticks out to me that's, you know, an Empire or Whitewashed or whatever. I mean, there are some that are, you know, a little bit better than others. I think Fault Line's fantastic, Spirit Breaker, and Provisions and Beauty and Tragedy are all really are the ones that stuck out to me, but they didn't stick out to me to great lengths like those songs that I've named off are. Not that that's wholly a bad thing, but, you know, this album takes a little bit longer to get into, if you ask me. That's just my personal opinion, of course. This whole thing is. This album really takes, you know, they've become... August Burns Red has grown to become a lot more technical and a lot more melodic. And I think that's amazing. That's what sets them apart from everybody else. And that's what keeps them from sounding like, you know, Texas in July. I know Texas in July actually tries to sound like them. But, you know, down there with those type of bands. Like, I feel there's August Burns Red up there with As I Lay Dying and Killswitch Engage and Devil Wears Prada and all those cool bands, metalcore bands. And then there's, you know, Texas in July and This is
Second-rate
Apocalypse. Yeah, like second tier bands, you know. August Burns Red's above them. And I just, if you love their melodic approach, how they've just been getting more and more melodic, you will dig the shit out of this album. I actually really enjoy that. But I feel at times this album's almost a little bit too melodic. I wish they would have maybe opened up a little bit more to something just more, you know, balls out or something. You know, there's a lot of ambience and really cool leads throughout this entire album, but no solos. That's something that kind of disappointed me because I love JB's solos. His solos are phenomenal, some of the best in metal today. And there's none on here, but there are some absolutely incredible leads. And when I'm talking about ambience, look no further than the first track, Provisions, if you ask me. There's a breakdown in this song, no shit. But like in the middle of the song, there's this breakdown. Then he comes in with this lead that is just so awesome. If they just kept playing that same breakdown, it would have got so boring so quickly. But that lead was just so phenomenal. And that was the first track. Then I knew this album was going to be good, and it is. That song is probably one of the more catchier ones on there. When it comes to songs that are just catchy, I would say Fault Line's the most catchy one. The one that I have had stuck in my head since I bought this album 2 days ago, I believe. It's just there's just a lot of melody on here, but some very great riffs. Just, you know, those technical, you know, riffs that use all the frets and all the strings and really make the most use of their musical talent. That's one thing I love about this band. They kind of don't hold themselves back on, well, let's stick with this style and let's write this. They write what they want, and they write what feels natural for the next part of the song or whatever. They don't try to stick with a formula like, you know, we have to have a breakdown in this song, and the breakdown has to be like this, and then we have to do this. And they just write songs, and you know, yeah, they have their style, but they don't confine themselves to that. They do go outside of it, and that's one thing I love about it. And they do go outside of it a lot on here. But one thing, you know, going back before Fault Line even was released, JB was saying that, you know, metalcore's stale pretty much, and that, you know, their new album's going to have so many weird things. It's going to be like a game changer, and I kind of disagree with that. Yeah, it has some very unique moments that metalcore bands, you know, haven't done before, but, you know, when you say something like that, I felt like I was going to expect this album to be, you know, every song was going to have some fucking wicked part, like an internal canon or something. I mean, that doesn't really take the album down at all. I'm just kind of, you know, after listening to the album, I was curious, you know, here, I'll say that. Say this, sorry. When he said that, I was curious about what the album's going to sound. After listening to it, I just kind of wanted to address that. So that's that. But one thing I always felt August Burns Red was so good at doing, they don't do it a whole lot, but they in the song Beauty and Tragedy, towards the end, they switch from a minor key to a major key like that, and they do it so flawlessly. And there's no band out there in metalcore that can do it as good as this band. And I kind of like how they do switch it up sometimes, because most of the time they're in a more minor key, you know, for the heaviness and the brutality, you know. But when they switch it up sometimes, just the way they do it, it's just phenomenal. Like, you know, that's kind of hard to do, and I feel that they do it better than anybody else in their genre. You know, I can't say if this is going to be the best August Burns Red album. My personal favorite is Leveler, but, you know, Constellations is phenomenal as well. But I can't say if this is going to top it. I have to listen to it a lot more, but I can tell you that this album fits right in with the path that August Burns Red has been going recently. if you love Constellations and you love Leveler, you will love this album. This album is phenomenal. It has some very good breakdowns. I can't say I, like Sam was saying, that I really could get into them, but you know, some of them aren't that bad. It's just some great technical riffs, a ton of melody. This album has so much emotion in it, and emotion throughout everything. And you know, the guitars with all the melody, the lyrics, and you know, Jake's vocals, which sound fantastic, and you know, his talky parts. They kind of overuse that at times in this album. Like, there's a lot of songs that have those, but sometimes they're just so breathtaking to listen to that, you know, it's just phenomenal. But anyways, this is a very, you know, emotional album, you know, more emotional than any metalcore band out there. But yeah, I mean, this is a solid album. I'll say that. It's very good.
I don't think my tone throughout this entire review accurately describes my excitement and my thrill for these musicians' the skill that these musicians have, and the ability that the way they use their skill, the ability that they have, the way they execute. My tone definitely doesn't describe my excitement for this album, just because I don't seem to get that excited over music too much anymore. Every now and then I get pretty bedazzled, but this album is definitely pretty great. If you're going to take anything away from this review, don't take my tone and talking about the local bands. Take this band's extreme, amazing talent that few other bands really have. The talent that they have in their field, and you know, no one can really do what they do sometimes. I think they are incredible musicians and cool, down-to-earth, normal Pennsylvania guys. And this album is really good. It is really, really good. And that's what I'll say. You listen to it yourself, and you can tell me what you think.
Yeah, I mean, when this was one of my most anticipated albums of 2013, I'd say it definitely does deliver. And August Burns Brad are very nice fellows. We got to meet them when Leveler came out.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that they would do like an in-store signing again, but they didn't. Maybe next album.
One thing I'm looking for with the next album, because I kind of feel that they've established who they are now with Leveler. Now this album, they've really established this kind of setting. I'm wondering where they're going from here.
Yeah.
After Constellations, they move on to Leveler. It's a bit of a, you know, expansion, and then they move on to Rescue and Restore. It's a bit more of an expansion. But where can they go from this? You know, do they stay at this level? I'm not sure if they. You know, what they have is great, and I'm not saying anything's bad. It's just I'm wondering, you know, if they're gonna do anything big from there.
I'm hoping that they, you know,
I don't want to
take that huge leap.
Yeah.
But how?
I don't want to raise my expectations, because that's what I did a little bit with this album, thinking, where do they go from Leveler? I'm thinking they're going to be up here, and instead of way up here, they're way up here. And up here is still pretty good. It's better than down here, but it's not quite up here. You know, from this graph.
And they definitely have matured their sound on this. They definitely have found who they are and who they want to be. But like Sam said, what's next?
Yeah.
This album just came out. We're talking about the next one.
What's your rating out of 9?
8 out of 9.
Out of 10.
Out of 10.
Just kidding. Out of 9.
I would give this an 8.75 out of 10. But if I had to scale that down